Hi! So today I will be reviewing 3 adult cat food brands that we feed our cats. This is not the most comprehensive review, but I thought I'd share experience looking for cat food because a lot of the reviews I found online were for people in the US, and there are some brands that are not as easily available in Canada. Where we live, at least, especially without a car, our main options are buying online through Amazon, PetSmart, or Walmart, or buying it at a pet store, a grocery store, or a pharmacy. The prices and options seem to be the best at Amazon. I tried buying online at PetSmart several times, but there always seems to be an issue at their checkout page. I don't really know why, so Amazon it is. When picking cat food, we were looking for a mix of wet food and dry food. Cats don't really have a natural thirst drive, so canned food helps them stay hydrated and avoid things like urinary tract infections, and I think it can help them avoid becoming overweight as well. I've read that dry food could help clean cats' teeth, but I definitely have noticed that our cats don't do too much chewing when eating dry food, so we have it there in case we are ever out of town for a weekend, and generally try to just mix it up a little bit to avoid either one of them becoming too picky of an eater. So besides a mix of wet food and dry food, we were also looking out for price, accessibility, flavor, so whether or not our cats liked it, and ingredient quality. So the 3 adult cat foods that I would recommend for people to try for different reasons are Fancy Feast, Wellness, and Crave. So starting with Fancy Feast, we tried 4 different textures of wet food: grilled, chunky, pate, and gravy. Our cats did not like the grilled or the chunky types, but they both love the gravy and the pate. The gravy option is especially good if you need to mix in any medication, which we did need to do for Huxley when he needed his vitamin supplements and dewormer medication. However, the pate options are generally healthier because they don't have ingredients such as wheat gluten and cornstarch, typically. The first ingredient is usually something like chicken, turkey, or whitefish, but they do have some not ideal ingredients like meat byproducts and very generically labeled ingredients like liver or fish. Fancy Feast is super affordable and super accessible. We find it everywhere, so the local pet store, the grocery stores, the pharmacies, online, and that's part of what makes it a really good option. So some pros and cons for Fancy Feast. Pros: there are a lot of textures and flavors to choose from. It is super accessible and affordable. The main con is that the ingredient quality is not great. However, overall, I would recommend this to people trying to incorporate wet food into their cats' diets, who are on a budget or who have picky eaters, just because there's so many things to choose from. The next brand we've tried for wet food is Wellness. So we've tried 2 flavors of their canned pate food, their chicken entree and turkey and salmon entree. They have higher quality ingredients than Fancy Feast for sure. They are grain-free, they have no meat byproducts or artificial flavors, and they contain ingredients such as ground flaxseed, which is a good source of omega-3 fatty acids. The ones we bought came in these big cans that contained 354 grams of food, which is the equivalent of about 4 of the small regular cans. I will say that it's a little inconvenient. We have to open it up with a can opener and it comes out in this giant blob. I usually store the rest away in a Tupperware, but it's a little annoying to have to then reheat the food and then put it back in the fridge whenever Huxley wants to eat it. This is probably a better option if you have multiple cats who will eat this, because we wanted to try this brand to add a healthier option for our cats and give more variety to their diet. Unfortunately, Hallie really does not like this one, so it's really just Huxley eating it, but he does seem to really enjoy it. And because Huxley really enjoyed it and it was healthier, we tried to buy the turkey and salmon flavored one to see if Hallie might like that one instead, but it was also a big no from Hallie. I saw the judgment in her eyes. Wellness is a lot more expensive than Fancy Feast though, so it's about double the price. We usually do about 5 or 6 days of Fancy Feast food for Huxley and then 2 days of Wellness to finish off a single can. In terms of accessibility, we did see this at our local pet store and online at Amazon, although not at our grocery stores or pharmacy. We actually bought these big cans instead of the little ones because even though it is less convenient than the little ones, it was the cheapest option. And so we did buy this on Amazon. So pros and cons. Overall, this is a high quality cat food that at least one of our cats really seems to enjoy. There are a lot of varieties for flavors, even if it's not as much as Fancy Feast, by a large margin, and it's decently accessible. The main con is that it is really expensive, and because we tried to go for the cheapest option, the packaging we got is a little bit more annoying for storage. I would recommend this to someone who doesn't mind investing a little bit more in higher quality food, but definitely buy a small one first to see if your cat likes the flavor before committing to a whole 12 can pack. And finally, for dry food, we give our cats Crave. So Crave has different flavor options for their dry food as well. And it is a dry food option where chicken is the first ingredient, where there is 40% protein and 18% fat. So this is fairly decent for dry food. On Amazon, it comes in these massive 40-pound bags, which we then store away in cereal containers. We chose this because we wanted to give our cats a dry food option in case we were ever away for a weekend, which would make it easier to feed them. When Hallie first got here, she was also really scared and she would only eat at night, so dry food was kind of the only option to make sure her food was fresh. Both of our cats really seem to enjoy Crave, although Hallie more so than Huxley. Both of our cats now eat primarily wet food, and we leave about a quarter cup or like a third of a cup of dry food overnight. So, some pros and cons for Crave. It is a good quality of food for dry food specifically. It is fairly high in protein at 40% protein. Again, this is for dry food specifically, and it is a grain-free food. The cons, however, are that it is not the most accessible. We didn't really find it at our local pet store or like the grocery store, and I think I only really saw this on Amazon, maybe PetSmart, but we had that issue with paying on PetSmart, so really just Amazon. Overall, this is kind of where I would put each of these cat foods that we've tried when thinking of price versus quality. I think accessibility and flavors will depend on where you live and your cat's individual preferences. This was really just based on our experience shopping for cat food for our cats, and everyone's different in terms of what they're looking for. So this is really just like our kind of like 2 cents. I hope this was helpful. I will also be doing a review on kitten food because although Huxley has now transitioned entirely to adult food, we did feed him only kitten food when we first adopted him. So yeah, thanks for watching.